Hello everyone. Today I've got 3 more amazing new horror books for you guys to check out. I absolutely love all 3 of these. They all concern different things, of course. One of them is going to be a pre-order, but the other 2 you can pick up right now, and one just released a few days ago. And these are ones you're going to want in your TBR. You're going to want to read them for the spooky season. And I can't wait to tell you all about them. But as a reminder, I have horror books for sale also. And if you want to read my debut horror novel called Pray for Salvation, along with all the rest of my horror books, there is a link down below where you can pick those up. And if you're thinking about joining my Patreon, there's only one tier. You get free short horror stories every month. You'll get free copies of all of my previous books and my future books. I just uploaded my new anthology, Nothing Will Ever Be Fine Again, for the members of my Patreon before it becomes on sale or available anywhere else. And if you're a member, you can read that one for free. 12 short horror stories. And you get the whole thing as a member. All right, let's get started. So the first book we're going to talk about today is called The Bang Bang Sisters. Some people might call this one more of a thriller slash horror, more than a traditional horror, and they might be right. But to me, it was very horrific, very terrifying. I absolutely love this one. It is noirish. It is fast paced. It's pulpish. You know, it's got that grindhouse kind of vibe to it, and it's about 3 women who are in a rock band. They are a trio. They travel from town to town, performing in different bars and clubs and just playing this great rock and roll music. They're very tight. They're almost like sisters. They always have each other's backs. But they're also highly paid assassins from a secret dark website that puts up bounties for the worst members of society who have slipped through the system. You know, those who, you know, their cases were thrown out for very flimsy reasons, or people who have never been caught. And this website is good at tracking these people down. And then they put a bounty on their heads. Only the really bad guys, keep in mind. Members of this dark web group can bid on, or can get money if they're the ones to take these people down. And that's what they do as a side gig, basically to make most of their money while they're also this rock and roll band. And there's a serial killer in a small southern town. He calls himself the Wren. And you'll have to read about why, but this is a psychopathic, weird serial killer. His MO and his methods are just brutal and very, very, very strange. They have a history, these women have a history with this small town. But they decide, because they have this inside information, and he's been at the top of the hit list for a long time and escaping every time, that they can finally bring him to justice, and it's a big reward. They decide to go to this town and do this. But unfortunately, it's a trap. There's a man in this town who wants revenge on these women, and I'm not going to tell you why. You have to read about that. And pretty soon they find themselves taken hostage, sort of, and they are brutalized and they are tortured. And then they find themselves in with ankle bracelets in 3 different parts of this town, because he has made them an offer they have to do, or else they all die. And that offer is, they're dropped off in different parts of town. They have an ankle bracelet. They can't escape. They can't go past the town's borders. They can't refuse to do this, or they all die. They can't try to kill themselves, or they all die. And the rule is, in 48 hours, only one of those can be left alive. They are pitted against each other for life and death. He wants these members to kill each other until there's only one remaining, and that remaining woman gets to go free, according to him. So they have no choice but to find each other and fight to the death, while everybody's kind of watching. This whole town is under his power, let's put it that way. He's a very powerful man in this small town, very evil man. And yeah, the Wren The serial killer, he is very real, and he is going to make an appearance. But you're going to have to read about how, because this book is full of twists and turns and things you will not see coming. And in the meantime, these girls really have no choice. They all die if they don't try to kill one another. And things are going to get bloody, and things are going to get messy. And this book is just great. Like I said, it's fast-paced. It's got that grindhouse feel. It really goes for the gut, you know. And the whole scenario is just, I mean, these women are trapped. How are they going to get out? It's very suspenseful, filled with tension, filled with a lot of blood, filled with a lot of gore. And I absolutely loved it. And I think you will too. And you know me, I highly recommend it. And there is a link down below where you can pick up your copy of The Bang Bang Sisters in the description. And next we have Old Wounds. This is the one that just came out a few years ago. And this is about two trans teens, a trans woman and a trans man. And they used to date. They used to date each other. And their relationship is a big part of this story about why they hadn't spoken to each other in a couple years. You're going to have to read about that to find out. But it is a focal point of their relationship with each other. But they both came out as trans. And in the Ohio town where they live, they were not treated very well by other people. And so even though they haven't spoken in a few years, they decide to run away together to California, where they feel they will be more accepted. They have a place to stay. They can get the medical help that they need to complete their transitions and all of this good stuff. And the tension during this road trip is very, very high because of their past relationship, and neither of them really wants to talk about it. They kind of avoid it, you know. And if you've ever been in a long car with an ex that you didn't leave perhaps the best way, you know how uncomfortable that can be. And this book really gives off that kind of vibe. But that's not even the worst of it, because they're going to break down in a small town. And they're soon going to find themselves, again, kidnapped, pursued, beaten, and bloodied by a group of locals who first are not very happy when they find out that they're trans. And second, they have a problem on their hands because every 6 months, the people in this town, this group, including the sheriff, they sacrifice people to a monster in the woods. And the thing is with this monster, he only accepts sacrifices that are girls. And so the whole transgenderism issue comes into play beautifully in this book, because these guys don't know which one to actually sacrifice. They're going to kill them both, but one's going to be sacrificed to the monster, and they don't know which one they can. The one that was born a female but is now a man, or the one that was born a man and is now a female. They have no idea how any of this works. So it becomes this really interesting, I don't know, maybe philosophical question for them about which one do they sacrifice, because if they sacrifice the wrong one, this monster could turn on them. And this monster is very, very horrifying. And while they're during their captivity and after they escape and after they get separated, we're going to find out a little bit more about this monster. And it's a truly terrifying monster as they're being chased by these men. And they're also being stalked by this monster in the woods. And the whole thing comes together really, really well. It's got all the tension and drama and terror that you can want in a book like this. And it's a fantastic queer horror novel, and it really puts that subject of transgenderism front and center in the whole concept, which I don't think I've ever read quite anything like this before. And it was fantastic. And of course, I highly recommend it to you. And as always, there is a link where you can pick up your copy right now in the description. And next we have Oh, this is going to be one of your favorite anthologies of the year, I think. It's called Odd Jobs. The thing about this one, if you look at the authors that are involved, the 6 authors, it's just a heavy-hitting lineup of indie authors, many of which I read before. I reviewed their books on this channel previously. So when Carson Winter asked me if I wanted to read and review it, it was like a no-brainer. And once I looked at the lineup, my only question to him was, how soon can you get it here? Like, no need to ask for something like that, right? These authors have never let me down before, and I was very excited, and I was not disappointed. And instead of taking the traditional publishing route, these are just 6 authors who are all friends who just got together and decided to make this anthology based on a single theme. And that theme is perfectly realized in the first chapter with an HR guy and his section of the book. And basically it's about a mega corporation that basically owns everything, every other business. You might be working for them even though you might not know it, because it covers everything from the small to the large to many things, no matter, bookstores, electronic stores, big oil companies, from the big to the small. This mega company owns everything, and they consider their employees, expendable, and they're always watching. Big Brother is always watching you. And that's the theme of the book. And then these 6 stories are told from a wide variety of different businesses that this company owns. We have stories about somebody working for a big oil company, and over the course of her time there, it's an environmental horror story that really makes an impact, because pretty soon we're going to find a world covered in oil, every surface, every animal, and she starts losing herself both physically and mentally because of some of these images she's seen, and it's very, very terrifying. We have another one in there about a very strange bookstore. This is a weird story. This one's weird and strange and out there, and I loved it. This is not your typical bookstore, but one of the employees can't wait to get promoted time after time and make it right to the top, And the lesson to take out of that one is be careful what you wish for, because it might not always be better at the top, as she'll find out in a very strange, horrifying way. And then there's one about, a guy who takes his first day on a job cleaning up houses and taking care of bodies because there's a disease ravaging the country. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything more about that, because that one's going to get pretty disgusting. Delightfully disgusting, though. And you definitely want to read it. And if you're not one that wants to find out how the sausage is made, there's a story in here that's going to tell you how this company really feels about its human employees. And you're going to find out how those sausages are made, and that one's going to get a little bit goopy. And again, deliciously disgusting, and I think you'll absolutely love it. And then there's one about a guy who just works at an electronics repair shop. He fixes phones and laptops and does all that kind of stuff. And he breaks the company's rules by looking at people's pictures on their phones, which is illegal. And that's going to lead him into a situation that is both horrific and something that's way in over his head. And it's just going to disintegrate from there. It's going to take you to places you didn't think about when you started reading the story. And as I said, all of these stories, all of these locations are under the control of this mega corporation. And that's going to play into this, because at the beginning of every story, there are actually HR documents relating to those stories. So even though they're different stories and different locations and different people, they're all connected by that common theme, and it is excellent. I absolutely love this anthology. It's coming out in just a few days. There is a pre-order link in the description. Of course, I highly recommend it, and go ahead and check that out. And as always, I want to say thank you for taking some of your time and spending it here with me. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.